Like and subscribe right now, or this spider is gonna crawl on your face while you're sleeping. 10 photos with creepy backstories. Photography started as creepy as it could. Most early pictures had disturbing backstories. For instance, some of the first family pictures shot in history were taken at funerals. As eerie as that can be, people at that time didn't find any better purpose for lasting images with their loved ones. The internet is full of creepy pictures, and a lot of them are downright disturbing. Don't worry, here we're not going to show you anything that might make you feel sick. At MindRead, we're more interested about the eerie experience around images and footage from strange creatures and extraordinary events. Nowadays, taking and sharing a photo is pretty straightforward. On the contrary, during the first few years of photography, the whole process was pretty intricate. A camera was a clumsy artifact with a tripod, a curtain, and a film that the photographer would need to reveal later. As some of the first photos weren't wholly accurate, sometimes unexpected images came to life. Trying to explain these images, the supernatural and the paranormal became increasingly evident for many people. As photography became a part of our lives during the 20th century, it served to document the most horrifying events in human history. Yet, we're not going to watch any of those. Most of the pictures here we're going to show you are just creepy. They don't show anything shocking or overwhelming, but suggest that something darker coexists with us, like an invisible presence that walks with us daily, like our shadows. Together, we're going to look at some of the creepier photos that we wish we didn't find at all. At MindRead, we can't sleep properly since we watched this. Be careful if you start to watch, and we dare you to stay till the end. The top 3 photos are the creepiest ones. Number 10. A lovely cottage? Currently, and during the last few decades, epidemics have struck our lives around the world. As disruptive as it has become, we rarely consider how tough it was to live during the 20th century. Dozens of diseases like polio, smallpox, tuberculosis, malaria, and hepatitis were incurable. They took millions of lives each year, hampering our ancestors' growth and quality of life around the planet. Only when scientists developed antibiotics and vaccines, it was possible to fight these lethal illnesses. In turn, humanity thrived and developed more advanced technology, medicines, and vaccines. However, as we know, we can't anticipate nature's works. In this picture, we can take a look at a beautiful cottage, surrounded by the woods. Yet, the lady that's entering this place is dressing in her nurse uniform. Doing a little research about this picture, we found that the house was a sanatorium. In other words, this cute little cottage was the place where patients infected with tuberculosis went for treatment, before the discovery of streptomycin, the antibiotic that can cure this nasty disease. This picture was taken in 1948, when the sanatoria were losing their popularity as the treatment with antibiotics was showing overwhelming success. Before we move on, I've got a challenge for you that will only take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. Leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And boom, 25 years of amazing luck. Try it! It really works. Number 9. Sad clown. Since 1928, people have feared clowns thanks to this movie. Well, that's not a fact, but it's a well-educated guess. At least, we think so at MindRead. This super creepy clown image comes from the footage of the silent film Laugh Clown Laugh. This sad clown is scarier than the one with the red balloon, don't you think? He freaks me out. However, this movie wasn't about a monster wearing a clown disguise. This film tells a story about a clown who falls in love with the wrong person, with a very tragic end. Impossible romances had their time and still have their public. What do you think? Number 8. Family picture. I can't believe how creepy this picture is. This image comes from the Cooper family album. The father took this picture a day after they moved into their new house. In the photo, we can see the mother and grandmother with the children. On the left, the film developed a completely unexpected image. The guy at the drugstore couldn't find any decent way to tell Mr. Cooper how awkward his family photo was, so he left a note. To Mr. Cooper, sorry about the first capture. It didn't develop properly. Still, we couldn't do it any better. We're so sorry. Some people say that Mr. Cooper called home immediately, but the line was dead. The family's closest friends couldn't make any comment, yet we couldn't find out what happened to the Cooper family after seeing this strange and disturbing image. Number 7. The Specter of Newbie Church. During the 16th century, It wasn't so rare to find a monk with a white shroud over his face. It was a common way to hide disfigurement. At the time, leprosy was a threat to everyone around Europe. Nobody knew how contagious it was, or how to treat or prevent it. Many sick people would live the rest of their lives confined, as it was the only way that leprosy could be contained. Furthermore, it wasn't rare to find religious people affected by the disease, as the most curative ones would take care of the ill, feed the poor, and help the wounded during the wars. All these meant that the monks were exposed to contagion, even more than the soldiers and merchants. In 1963, Reverend K.F. Lord took this photo inside the Newbie Church in North Yorkshire, England. A specter appears in the image, and it looks pretty much like sick monks did in the 16th century. Although the Reverend claimed that this photo wasn't edited in any way, there is a lot of skepticism around it. Still, we haven't found any evidence that the image was done through double exposure. Number 6. The Wallenda Effect. Karl Wallenda was one of the most successful stars of the Flying Wallenda family. During the 20th century, the Flying Wallenda was the most famous airborne circus performers group, and Karl was their most brilliant star. Karl Wallenda's specialty was tightrope walking, and he performed incredible feats through his art. In 1978, Karl Wallenda achieved one of his most impressive shows when he crossed the Tower Bridge in London by tightrope. Part of Mr. Wallenda's claim was his fearless approach to tightrope walking. He didn't use the most minimal safety precautions, armed with only a long and heavy bar to keep his balance. As you may know, London is pretty windy and the Tower Bridge is over the Thames. Obviously, it wasn't the most predictable and safe place to walk on a high wire. This triumph, widely reflected in this image, is the opposite of his last act in San Juan, Puerto Rico, a year later. Some people claim that Mr. Wallenda overprepared and was the victim of his own overthinking. At age 73, Karl Wallenda lost his life, performing a routine act, according to Nick Wallenda. The cable was improperly set, said Nick's father, Terry Troffer. After that tragic incident, the Flying Wallenda ensured that only family members set the wires for their acts. Number 5. The last picture of the Romanov family. The Romanov family was one of the most powerful families in Europe. It was the only dominant power capable of ruling the Russian Empire for 300 years, taking it to a decisive role in the world events that linger today. On July 14, 1918, the entire royal family attended a service at the Ipatiev house, Yekaterinburg. Although the priest later claimed that he felt an eerie atmosphere that moved him, the Romanovs didn't know that this was their last service together. As the communist revolution was taking part, the Romanovs were trying to escape imprisonment by the Bolsheviks. Although they were unpopular, Lenin feared that the Romanovs could recover support from the people, as monarchs still were active and influential all over Europe, so not even children could escape. The communists knew that if they grew up, they could lead monarchs against their ruling. This picture captured above is the last peaceful, happy moments of the Romanov family. Number 4. Abraham Lincoln. William Mumler was a notorious spirit photographer during the 19th century. Although most scientists reject the authenticity of his photographs, no one can find out how Mumler fabricated the apparitions shown in this picture. So, we guess that they must be authentic, don't you think? The truth is that Mumler's work served dozens of people to grieve in a completely different way. And among these was Mrs. Mary Todd Lincoln, the widow of President Abraham Lincoln. The famous picture shows the notorious widow with a peaceful expression. Some would say that she's even grinning, if she knew that her husband was with her, saying goodbye. Number 3. Kentmere Abbey Library. The Kentmere Abbey was founded in the 1130s, and after an early flourishment, it struggled to recover its primer since 1275, when it started to face financial issues. This is, of course, the longest history of troublesome financial planning we have heard of at MindRead. Yet a more recent event in 1891 draws particular interest towards this ancient building. Colonel Wellington Henry Stapleton Codden was Lord Kentmere. He passed away due to heart failure after 7 weeks of being run over by a horse-drawn carriage. When everyone went to Lord Kentmere's funeral, his sister-in-law set up a camera at the library to take an hour-long exposure image. When she developed the film, she found this spectral figure sitting on the chair at the library. Most acquaintances of Lord Kentmere at the time asserted that he was the man sitting on the chair. Still, many skeptics claimed that anyone could sit there, while the rest were at the funeral. But everybody insists that the house was empty when the picture was taken. Now, we dare you to watch our next photo, today's best pick. Number 2. The best pick. During and after World War II, the human mind and body were thoroughly studied. The fastest advancement in genetics, psychology, medicine, physics, and chemistry occurred during and after this terrible historic period. Most of these advancements happened through serendipitous efforts, but quite a few of them were rather unfortunate. Among them, the hideous and secretive Russian experiments led by joint effort between the KGB and the Stasi exposed dozens of people to harsh and stressing conditions. In this image, we can see an experimental subject after suffering the effects of continued sleep deprivation for more than 2 months. The deterioration of the skin around its mouth is evident, and the impact on the body is shocking. Although a lot of people say this is just a creepypasta, who can prove it? Number 1. The Mechanic. Unlike many creepy photos, this one is entirely authentic. Additionally, it doesn't look scary at all. But wait, the backstory on this one is hard to swallow. In 1919, Freddie Jackson lost his life after an accident with an airplane propeller. He was an air mechanic in the squadron of Sir Victor Goddard. 2 days later, Sir Goddard took a picture of the squadron. But when he had the film developed, he couldn't believe it. Mr. Jackson was in the picture, and he was recognized by all the members of the crew. Coincidence or not, Goddard took the photo before the crew left the base to assist Mr. Jackson's funeral. Incredible, isn't it? Thanks so much for joining us here at MindRead today. For more great content, check out some more of our awesome videos. We're sure we can show you interesting, creepy, or scary videos to watch and share with your friends.